Hey, brother, thanks for taking the time to join me here in the woods today.
Thank you, bro. Thanks, Mike. Thanks everyone for having me. If yeah, you guys
Absolutely.
probably watch Mike all the time, but he's the first podcast host that I've seen that's fully in the woods, man. That's cool.
I get that a lot because the other half of of how I do it is I actually get together a campfire and I'll sit around the campfire. And I feel like doing it this way, it brings something very special out of the guest.
Yeah,
It gives them an opportunity to put their shoulders down. And I know from looking into your background, that's exactly what this conversation is going to bring out. I feel like this is going to be very good for you, and it's going to be very, very beneficial to anybody that actually takes a second to check it out. So let's dive right in and walk me through that road before the transition in your life.
so my main thing is I struggled with drugs and alcohol for a long time after I lost everything at 22 years old during COVID lockdowns. And yeah, went through a big transition period of like identifying who I am and what I didn't like about myself, and spent a long time alone in solitude and purposely. It wasn't anyone forcing me into it. It was just kind of a realization that I had that I wanted to be more for the world. And now I work with people, helping them do the same things, get in shape, get their mind right, start loving themselves, and therefore loving their life and everything in it. Because you can never possess anything that you don't like already have. I can't give you anything that I don't have. So I help people build everything within themselves first, and then they give that to their people and to their jobs and to whatever they want to do.
See, I think that's a beautiful way to look at life because one of the big things we all struggle with, and I know I fall victim to this a lot, is disconnection. We just simply go from one step to the next without actually taking time to recharge the batteries.
Yeah, for sure. The time alone that really built me, like when you go from, so I was drinking for a long time, and then I dropped the drink and went into cocaine. Between drinking and cocaine, there's a different group of friends, right? You got different people around you. And then after the coke, it was just was me, right? So no one really forced it upon me. It was a decision that I made myself, but it was difficult, like spending every night on my own, like even I was watching movies and getting food or whatever. It was just my own company, and you'd be familiar with it too. You do kind of get like really comfortable with it. You start really enjoying it. At the start, it's scary. At the start, like you feel lonely and all this kind of stuff. But then it kind of comes after that you crave that solitude and thinking into your own thoughts, and I could like having a connection with something other than yourself, because your mind's able to think properly. You're not distracted from people and not distracted from your phone or whatever.
Absolutely. I want to actually kind of hang out here a little bit because I know you can identify with not only the isolation, but before that, the putting a mask on things. Talk to me a little bit about that mindset because I know for me, when I was going through that stage of life, it was about hiding from myself. So even though, I'm sitting out here right now in the woods, happy, content, and just enjoying it, even though back then I would come out in the woods and I'd do the outdoor activities, it was always as fast paced as I could get to the end so I could run away before those thoughts and feelings would start coming up because there's no distractions. So talk to me a little bit about that mindset.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but my running away was always substance. Every time, like I was, every downtime, I was either drinking or doing drugs or just doing something exciting, just kind of avoiding um, that voice that we've all got in our head that's going to tell you the truth and tell you all your problems and tell you where you need to be better, and that you've got anxiety and depression and all this stuff. But that voice isn't telling you just to call you out. It's telling you to call you up. It's telling you to. It's identifying all these problems within you to fix them. And if you keep running away from them, like they're still gonna be there. You know what I mean? I wrote something when I was like starting in all this. I used to have like a notes in my phone where I would just write my thoughts down. And I remember writing like, it doesn't matter how many camping trips I go on, doesn't matter how many parties I go to, my problems seem to still follow me. And it's the case, man. If you don't deal with your stuff, if you keep running away, then you're only prolonging it, you know, you're only prolonging the torture that you're feeling.
It's when I look back on that stage of life, where you're wearing that mask, and I think about all the labels and the things that built helped me build that mask. It's because that depression, that anxiety, all the labels or whatever it is that you're struggling with or going through, you let it in, and you're not really fully aware, but as it gets deeper and deeper rooted inside of you, it becomes your voice. It becomes who you are. And that moment when you start to actually understand that, I feel is kind of like the very first step on a recovery journey. And it leads you to that crossroads where you could almost put up a sign that says, no matter where you go, you're always there. So you
Hmm.
have to get to know yourself. And for me, that was a very difficult stage. It was one that, just like you, was filled with isolation and motivation to do it, but finding the inspiration at times was so difficult to do.
Yeah, I think too, a lot of the times when we're given labels like anxiety, depression, or autism, ADHD, whatever they're calling you, we kind of we just accept them, you know. You don't really know that you can go to like you go to war against it and battle against it, and you don't have to be the thing that they're telling you to be. You may be in the time, but you kind of identify these things as permanent things that you can't change. Like they called me autistic, ADHD, all the stuff, you know. They said I had all of it. I never took any drugs for it or anything like that, but um, yeah, and when I was growing up, I was like, I don't want to be these things. Like, I want to be like, I don't want to be identified as a label. I would want to be people to call me my name, and I don't want to be thought as special because I, you know, can't learn or can't read or whatever. So I was never, I don't know whether it's like an ego thing, a pride thing, but I never just accepted the labels they gave me, and that's a lot of the problems I think people have is they get called things and then like, oh yeah, yeah, I am that. It's like, well, you can change it. You're in every right and you have the power to change it, but it's just whether you're willing to like identify it as the enemy or identify it as like that's who you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple weeks back, like I shared with you earlier, laying in a hospital bed, finding out that I have this diagnosis, I have diabetes now, which, there are some labels that we can't get around, but it's building this mindset in order to look at it and say, okay, that's just something that's going to be in the backpack now. It's going to walk with me, but I still have autonomy over myself and I'm still in control over this. A lot of the time when we find ourselves getting these labels put on us, there's like a circle of people around that are patting us on the back, that are making it feel okay. And then there's kind of like maybe somebody that comes in and they give you some hard truths out of just out of the nowhere. Like, for example, when I was going through the hospital part of this, everybody was helping me along, taking care of me and this and that, showing me things. And then the night before I got released from the hospital, this new doctor that I'd never seen in before, he come in, and the first things out of his mouth were 20 minutes worth of what could happen, the bad side of things, like, you could
Hmm.
lose your foot and this and that if you're not going to take control of it, and this take the power, essentially.
Hmm.
And I feel like, even though that conversation came out of the dark and was already things that most of us know about our situations, if we're honest with ourselves, it can be a firm wake up call.
Yeah, and I think that's what we need most of the time. We need someone to just tell us straight and
We do. And it's like, with that firm wake up call comes this invitation and a question, because we go through life and we've got to experience things. It's what we're going to do with them.
hmm. Yeah, that's a big thing is wanting to gain control of yourself. People that overcome addictions and stuff like that, they're all the same person. They're super prideful and they don't like letting anything control them, whether it's like a boss or they're usually good leaders. It's just kind of what comes with the territory, you know, like that was the biggest thing with me. I was like, I am massively weak for letting all these things, these like alcohol, these drugs, like control what I do, and like the impulses that are dragging me to them are like you know, oh, I've got no control over it. I'm like, I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm not gonna let it, take over me.
Well, it's that ego, but then again, I feel like that ego covers up fear
Yeah,
because regardless of what crossroad you're standing at, to take the trail that is going to lead toward progress and get you back on your feet and healthy is pretty damn scary. There's so much unknown as opposed to veering off the other trail and doing what you know and feeling comfortable. So it's what are you going to do with that question? What's your answer to that?
yeah, that's right. You gotta like when you identify that you have a problem, and you're always there's always an invitation to just stay weak, you know. Oh, I can let these things like have their way with me, run a train on me, or I can try to gain some control. And yeah, that's that when I identified like that I had a problem within drugs and alcohol, I just saw myself as massively weak. I was very honest with myself. Some would say brutally honest, but I think it's necessary. And yeah, changed it.
Walking down that trail, though, when you make that decision to make the change, talk to me a little bit about building the philosophy because it doesn't come easy.
Building this philosophy to change.
To change, maintain, and continue your progress.
That was like that's a long-term thing, man. I think I'm still doing that, you know. Like there's no one answer. The only thing that I tell people is they need a vision of who they want to be and what their life looks like. Because we need something else to chase rather than the day-to-day stuff of just getting high and having a good time. When you have a mission, when you have a purpose, when you have something that you're trying to go after, all this pleasure-seeking stuff, even like going to the movies, it just doesn't feel fun anymore because you don't feel like you're doing what you're supposed to. So the biggest thing is people need to be able to identify within themselves what they really want from their life without any boundaries. You know, if money wasn't an issue, if like you could do anything and have anything, what would the life look like? What would you look like? Would you be in shape? Um, all that kind of stuff. There was, and then that when I had the dream, when I had like a vision in my head of who I wanted to be and what I wanted to look like, then you start like building all the beliefs and values along the way that identify with that person. You start living that person, but it's a slow process, dude. But everyone just needs like a real dream and goal, you know.
You said it right, though, at the very beginning of that. There is a no one size fits all. You know, that discovery journey, that discovery path, it's something that looks unique for you.
Yeah,
So looking at somebody else, you should take inspiration instead of trying to walk the same road.
yeah, there is stuff that everyone can do that will 100% make them feel better. If you start eating clean and dropping weight, you will start feeling better. If you start working out all the time, you will start feeling better. But these things are only going to bring you up, and then you've got to sort out within you. The rest is on you. The rest is mindset work, you know. There is like daily habits that we can participate in that'll keep our self-pride high, keep our like human vibration high, keep our self-love high. But then, yeah, it's just you learning from you the whole rest of the time.
It's a lot of looking in the mirror.
Yeah, it's constant. It's just it comes a part of who you are, just self-evaluating all the time. It's just that internal dialogue starts working with you instead of against you.
And, I think back to when I was overcoming my depression, my anxiety, and things like that. When the mask first came off, that talk, that vocabulary that I used to use, it was so unhealthy. And I feel like that was one of the major hurdles that I had to overcome. And by developing that, just step by step, becoming aware of it, looking at, a response in your head to any simple action that you do is really one of the most important places to start. And then, from there, expanding, looking at different philosophies, reading books, looking at inspiration from other people, getting out and actually putting boots on the ground to build a brand new vocabulary and start working on adapting instead of when you screw up saying, man, I'm such a screw up, whatever. You look at it and realize that there is a lesson that you can learn within that mistake. And I feel like that's how you get that shift.
Yeah. I do think it's like you said, I do think it's everyone's always like they kind of talk to me and they say, "What can we do to get other people that are struggling with the same things you did to wake up?" And I don't think it works like that. It's very divine. It's very like within you. There's no like one answer, one thing I can say, one podcast, one message that I can give people that will like, blanket everything and fix the problem for everyone. It's just whenever you're ready, your conscience is going to tell you, and hopefully you do something about it. I do think the people that do choose to change and do participate in a kind of like a personal development, personal transformation, personal shift from who they were to who they want to be, I do think those people are special to the world and they have something to offer. But there's no one answer, I can tell you if someone's ready to change or not, but I can't get them to. I always go with the thing of I don't try to save people, I show people the life of someone that's saved, and then hopefully that inspires them. But that's all you can do. You get so stuck in like trying to help like each individual person, and I mean you'll be disappointed 99% of the time. So
No,
it's easier,
I think you just said it
focus on you
perfectly,
and inspire.
because it's not about saving somebody. It's about providing them with the fuel to add to their fire to save themselves.
Yeah, you're just trying to add one thing. You're just trying to get like
Exactly.
just one thing across, Like there's no like one step. There's a million steps, Like there's a million that like need to be taken, but like no one way, there's a million ways, but yeah, you're just trying to like just give something. And we all listen to messages different and take in different shit.
And I feel like really anytime that, you start a recovery journey or a healing journey, whatever it is, there's a term that kind of gets overlooked or doesn't get enough credit. And I can hear it in your voice, is courage. It's almost as if taking these steps to improve yourself is answering the call or the invitation from courage.
Yeah, that's right. You definitely yeah, you got to be able to move through fear for sure. And further on there, like at the start, it's just you overcoming you, right? You're in your way. And then later on, as you get further along, like it's going to become like you still overcoming fears, but it's more like, oh, am I going to get on camera or am I going to like get on podcasts or, I'm going to do this, people are going to think I'm silly. It becomes less about like you battling against impulses and trying to get into control, and it becomes more about like you reaching the top of your level and then like being scared to go to the next bit and being scared to go to the next bit and being scared to go to the next bit. Courage is like yeah, that's a massive part of it.
So one place that I like taking people out to hike is this place called Turkey Run. And once you get there, once you get to the trail, they almost throw it in your face about there being like 500 stairs that you'll have to climb. And I
Hmm.
think about it because when we get to that point in the hike, and this is a couple miles into the hike, so you're already a little bit aspirated, and you faced a lot of challenges getting there, and then you get to the bottom of the stairs and you look up and you go, man, I can just turn around right now. I don't want to go do this. And you put your foot on that first stair and you push your way all the way up. You physically teach yourself that adversity, all these different challenges that come along these journeys are possible to overcome. You figure out how to make it, whatever that challenge may be, the way.
Hmm. Yeah, you only really learn like the next like learn about yourself when you're participating in the next level. You're going to like be kept at a comfort level for a long time, and then something's going to come up that scares you. It's only when you're participating in that thing you're learning like the mindset, the beliefs, and cultivating who's necessary to like keep going from that point. I say if you're scared, you have to do it because that's the next level. Anything that doesn't scare you is your current level. So,
And I think where I was going with that is the fact that even though you get tired along the way and you feel like you want to slip or you want this or you want that, you can still put one foot in front of the other and you can still continue down that path.
hmm, for sure.
And it's, it's just a simple piece of motivation, which is ultimately is what this conversation is hoping to put out there is the motivation to either start the journey, stay on track, and find your way to continue to go forward.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, just like just trying to enlighten people in like just some kind of sense. You never like I'll get on Instagram and say like, just something that I don't think's good, and then someone will message me and tell me like it's the best thing they ever heard. You just never know how it's going to be taken across. What you do know is if you don't do it, nothing's going to happen.
I love that because I'm thinking back to about a year ago when I was sitting around a fire with a firekeeper, and he was talking about all these different stories and experiences that he had working with veterans. And he was at a gathering where he was talking about that experience. And then there was a woman at at that event that heard the story. She walked away, she left, and she ran into him down the road a couple months later and told him how, because of what he talked about in this context, affected her getting off of drugs. It affected her going forward and regaining control of her life. And as he told this story to us, he ended up in tears because of the impact that our words actually can have on somebody else.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. That's the like I said, like if you never talk, every conversation is worth having because you know for sure if you're not gonna say it, then you're not gonna nothing's gonna happen from it. If you say it, one person might get one thing, and that's worth it. Makes it worth it.
And on the other hand of that is the responsibility with our voice, to actually think and consider, is the things that we're about to say better left unsaid, or is it something that needs to be heard? Does it need to be vocalized? Because we, as humans, have the ability to speak and tell stories, and we give life to so many different positives and so many different negatives that with that gift, it becomes so important to evaluate and use it in the correct light.
Yeah, the negatives and positive thing is massive. If you're bringing people complaining, if you're bringing people like just negative stuff all the time, there's no way that that's helpful to anyone, It becomes very selfish. You're just talking about your problems, you're talking about how hard you have it instead of overcoming those things and trying to speak out of positivity. There's always a positive light. That's one of the big things at the start that I forced myself to do was just change negative thoughts into positive ones. And it's crazy how big of an impact they had. Like they say like the law of attraction, positive actions and positive results reap no positive thoughts and actions reap positive results, negative thoughts and actions reap negative results. And that was one of the things I did at the start without even realizing. It was just changing negative to positive. I just didn't want to be negative anymore. I just wanted to, you know, be someone that someone wanted to be around, instead of just complaining and, all that.
And that I think that that actually is getting back to the concept of slipping around on your journey and having those fallbacks because we talked about how our journeys were pretty much done in isolation, but for a lot of us, we still maintain interactions and relationships as we go through this. Being able to evaluate those people that are around you is a huge transition because you want to give yourself the firmest foundation to stand on. So if you remove those negative people, then you're removing that stress, that aggravation, and all those temptations, that cause you to inevitably slip.
Yeah, if you remove it within yourself, you will automatically do it on the outside. If you remove it within, if you stop being negative within, and you tell yourself like, "Oh, I shouldn't be complaining because I'm not helpful or whatever," you'll think that same belief onto everyone else. When they start complaining to you, you'll be like, "Oh, I don't want to be around this." You might not tell them or whatever, but you just actively not be around it.
And I want to transition a little bit here toward the end because there's another concept that's going through my mind with my current struggles and having to transition and change my diet and everything. There's a little bit of grief that we all go through during the transition process. I don't know if you experienced that along your journey or not, but to have to let go of those things. Yeah, we do it physically or the people around us. We do it physically, we do it on that level as well. But in the back of our minds, we try to hang on to that a little bit. So talk to me, if you can, a little bit about that process of actually grieving and letting things go, allowing the transitions to happen.
Yeah, I mean, at the start, well, not at the start, but like, for a year or something like that, I was watching people out on weekends and I was like, yo, like I'm really like, I'm the one staying here grinding and not going out. And it was a huge pride thing for me. So, there obviously was a part of me that like was still encouraged to go out and do all the stuff. Now I don't even get a thought to. It's just I'm confused when people tell me they do. I'm just like, what, people still do that stuff? I had no idea. But I mean, there's for me it was a huge like want to change. So when people were doing it, I was fully okay with not doing it. I obviously like there is a certain fear because you're going to have to do new things and spend your time during the day differently. And so there's a kind of like uncomfortability that was there, but there was no like, oh damn, like I don't get to drink. There wasn't any of that. When I made the decision, I was sure I'd never do it again.
And I think it's so important here at the end to actually mention the fact that it's okay to take time to make peace with yourself about all the transitions that are happening in the world and in your life.
Yeah, what do you mean by peace?
Just I remember, actually when I found out about my diagnosis and that, thinking to myself, this is going to be difficult. I'm going to have to make changes and being uncomfortable with it. But then, as I thought about it a little bit deeper and realized that this is just a part of the journey, I became comfortable with it. I made peace.
Yeah,
I let the things go that I had to let go. I allowed the new things in that I've had to bring in and just allowed it to become a part of life instead of it being this massive disruption or this massive thing on my shoulders that, oh, I've got to do this now and this and this and that. I just let it, I learned how to let it flow and just be a part of things. And I think that's something that is a very valid thing to acknowledge that you actually have to do in order
yeah.
to go forward.
That takes a long time being able to look at as adversity as like a well, this was given to me for a reason, and I'll become like better out of it. The it's like it's faith that like whatever is being given to you is being given to you for some bigger purpose, some reason. And I mean, you fighting against it is just like we said at the start, just prolonging the kind of torture that is, it's still gonna be there. You're still gonna have to deal with it. I'm very like that with adversity now. I really like I almost welcome it because only during massive life adversity, like when I lost everything when I was 22, or people leave you in your life or anything like that. They're the real turning points in your life that change you. And it's always if you're someone that's um willing to, it's always for the better. Life always gets better from huge change and huge struggle.
It really does. And in all reality, every footstep that we've taken has prepared us for the place that we find ourselves now. So allowing that grace to just look back and say, hey, man, that's where I came from. That's what I did. That's cool because that's where I'm at now. And now I've got the strength to face things.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah, that's
like
right.
I like I told you before we got started, this is probably something that looking back on life, I probably could have picked up on earlier, but I don't know that I would have been ready for it until
Oh, that's the
it
same with
actually
me.
happened.
Yeah, it's there's no this story without the last ones. You need the whole thing, and that's why like when new stuff comes, um, you just you can't shy away from it. You just like well through my whole life, whenever hard things have come, it's led into something that's been better. So like who am I to say that this won't be the same thing? And it will. We're always given stuff like that. We're only given what really what we need to move on, move forward. We're given like reminders.
Exactly. So speaking of reminders, as we wind this down, go ahead and let people know where they can get in touch with you, what you got going on, all that shameless plugging stuff.
Yeah, it's just hit me up on Instagram. It's my name, Nathan Buttigieg, Nathanbuttigieg, with an extra G on the end, one word. Yeah, just send me a message on there. That's my main thing. I don't run a website or anything like that. I like interacting with people, and if you come there, you'll notice that I post on my story all the time, talking about anything and showing you my day. And yeah, hit me on there.
Awesome. Nathan, it's been a blast, brother. Thanks a lot. I got to get moving before the rain really starts coming down.
Yeah, get out of the cold, bro, for sure.
Yeah, I don't believe in goodbyes. So until we meet again, whether it's this life or the next, I wish you a safe and prosperous journey.
100%, Mike. Thank you.
Oh, shoot.